of Wahi are now actually having a direct conversation with this old woman, and they're consoling her. There are times where women have to step up and play a role. What are the principles? The principle in Islam, Allah did not say women should, remain hidden. In fact, even the ayah وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, Surah Al-Ahzab, is talking about Ummahatul Mu'minin, is talking about the mothers of the believers. And there's a reason for that, because they are considered our mothers forever. There's a reason they were given special instructions. In that same surah, Allah says, لَسْتُنَّ كَأَحَدٍ مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. You're not like any other women. That's why they have, and no other woman will always be considered the entire ummah's mother. They cannot marry any other man after them. If they just walk around outside, even if they're fully covered, and some man says, I wonder if she's married, he's having a thought about his mother. Allah wants to prevent that completely from even happening, ever. So He tells them, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. So even when the Sahaba come to meet with Aisha radiallahu anha, min wara'i hijab, she has to meet them from behind a curtain. She's not seeing anybody. So they were given special instructions. But the instructions for the rest of the ummah, they're in Surah An-Nur.
And this is complete nonsense. And this is straight from the reformist playbook. Like all reformists have this, nonsense interpretation of Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 33. Let's read the ayah that he's referring to. قَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنْ, and abide in your houses, and do not display yourselves, as was the display of the former times of ignorance, and establish prayer and give zakat and obey Allah and His Messenger. So look at the commands already in the beginning of this ayah. Abide in your houses, stay in your houses, do not display yourselves, like in the times of ignorance, jahiliyyah, establish the prayer, give zakat, obey Allah and His Messenger. So 5 separate commands. And then Allah intends only to remove from you the impurity of sin, O people of the household. Ahlul Bayt, meaning the household of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to purify you with extensive purification. So the reformists will say that, all these things are only for the Ahlul Bayt, only for the household of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But these are 5 very general commands. How can they only be applicable to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ and no one else? Clearly, the not displaying yourself. So he actually said that there's nothing in the Quran that says women should be hidden. Well, here it is, the same verse that you're citing. Do not display yourselves. So that's number 1. That there's no scholar who says, do not display yourselves is only for Ummahat al-Mu'minin, only for the mothers of the believers. Everyone else can just go wild, display yourself. No one says that. This is the verse that's cited. This is the ayah that's cited. Anything related to hijab, this is the ayah that's cited. There's no takhsis here for only Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. And then establishing prayer and zakat, obviously that's applying to everyone. And obeying Allah and His Messenger, applicable to everyone. So why only that first part is directed to, there's takhsis for, it's specifying Ummahat al-Mu'mineen or Ahlul Bayt. You don't find that in any tafsir. All of these apply. And that's why in every school of thought, there's no difference. Not even school of thought. You can look at other, manahij, madahib, different schools of aqidah, different sects, even the Shia, even the, Ismailis at that time. Every school of thought historically, even those who are not even considered Muslim, they have the same interpretation. They have the same understanding that women need permission from their awliya, from their wali, from their guardians, in order to go outside of the house, to leave the house. That is Islam. And this is the verse that establishes it. This is the ayah that establishes it. Again, there's no difference of opinion on that. There is just difference of opinion on, for example, a husband prevents his wife from seeing her family by not giving her permission to leave the house. What kind of recourse does she have? Then some say yes, she can leave. Some say she should try to inform others to contact her family so their family comes visit, or her family basically sues the guy and gets the right to see their daughter, because she has a right as a wife to see her family. and the husband doesn't have a right to prevent her from that. So in Islam, but he does have a right to prevent her from, going, visiting someone. He does have the right to prevent her from going certain places. He does have the right to say, no, you can't travel to such and such place. He does have the right to say that. So this is like standard fiqh. This is standard fiqh, and the fact that most Muslims in the West, I don't want to say most, but many Muslims in the West don't understand like this basic, like this is one of the basic rights of a husband. This is one of the basic rights that a husband and a guardian has in Islam. And it's very clear cut in the Quran, but they don't teach it. Like if your Islam is based on what Nouman Ali Khan says in his lectures, or what some of these celebrities say in their lectures, you're not really learning Islam. You're getting like Islamic flavored information, like Islamic flavored storytelling, entertainment. You're not actually learning the basics of your deen. And that's why, unfortunately, so many in the Muslim community are just uneducated and they're ignorant. And then if someone like you or me goes and say, no, in Islam, like the wife has to have permission from her wali, from her guardian, from her husband, in order to do certain things. That's like a basic part of Islam, one of the basic duties in marriage. They'll say, you're an extremist. You're an extremist. You're red pill. You're a red pill, misogynist, you don't understand Islam, and they'll attack you as being like literally a terrorist. And you're just like conveying like the basics of deen. But, there's another point here. Let's just assume that Nouman Ali Khan is correct here. And Nouman Ali Khan really has this tafsir correct. He's saying that Qarna fi buyutikun, Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 33, this is only applying to Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, the mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It only is applicable to them. So let's just concede all of that for the sake of argument. Okay, this is another thing that you should, as students of Al-Asna, this is a strategy that you can employ. Think that, okay, even if we concede, okay, everything that Nouman Ali Khan said, okay, no problem. We'll steel man his argument. We'll steel man as opposed to straw man. He straw mans the opposition. We're going to steel man his argument. We're going to say, yeah, okay, this ayah only applies to Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. It doesn't refer to any other Muslim woman today. Okay, fine. But if we accept that contradicts your own logic. How? Because the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen were the best. They were the most knowledgeable. They were the most noble. They had the highest characteristics of piety, the highest characteristics of character and modesty and intelligence. And so if there was anyone who should be a leader amongst women, it should be them. If there's anyone who should be front and center, if we, according to Nouman Ali Khan and these compassionate imams, women should be front and center because, that's what Islam wants. Islam wants women to be leaders just like men, equivalent to men in society. If that is truly the Islamic value or the Islamic principle, then why is it that the most knowledgeable, the most noble, the highest in character, the best examples, Allah is saying, don't leave the house. Don't be out there leading. Don't be out there in public view. Don't go and be a civil servant. Don't go there and this verse, even if we take his messed up interpretation of it, it still is a contradiction to his overall point. Because if this were a value to promote women in society as leaders, then the most worthy of leadership in that way are the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So like he characterizes it as putting women in a cage. So that's not the case. So the feminists have to insist, no, she can go wherever she wants, whenever she wants, and how dare you think that you can have a say in that? What kind of marriage would that be? Like, what kind of marriage would that be? So someone asked recently, actually, so does the husband also need permission from his wife to go out? No, the husband doesn't need permission because there is no order from Allah to stay in your homes for men. Men have to go work. Men have to go and take care of all kinds of duties. They have that degree of authority over women, so they don't have to have permission from their wives to go out. So that's not, there's no equality there. And if you have this in your mind that there has to be perfect equality between men and women, between husband and wife, so much of Islam is going to be seen as wrong to you. It's going to be seen as completely problematic and misogynistic and abusive and oppressive if you have this equality standard. But we don't have this equality standard in Islam, and that's why Muslim marriages are better. They're better, they're more natural, they're more stable, they're more long-lasting. They have more love, they involve more love. How are you going to feel as a husband if your wife doesn't view you as her protector? If your wife doesn't view you as her guardian, as her caretaker, as her leader, how do you feel as a man? A normal man is going to be hurt by that, or is going to feel like, is going to feel bad about that. A normal man is going to feel like, oh, even my own wife, I'm supposed to be her knight in shining armor. I'm supposed to be her protector, her hero. But she doesn't even care. She just goes out, does whatever she wants, you know. And if you say anything, honey, maybe not go. Shut up. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me where to go. I'll do whatever I want. How is he going to feel? He's not going to, there's not going to be that level of love. He's basically being abused. That's the thing. Feminism puts women in this cognitive dissonance where her nature is saying, that's what I want. I want to be taken care of. I want to be, you know, protected. I want a guardian who is going to be strong, and that's what she wants. But feminism is telling her, no, you don't want that. You want the opposite of that. So they want to be feminist. They want to be strong and independent. They want to be, you know, the modern woman, but their nature is telling them something else. Their nature is telling them the exact opposite. So then they end up being very dissatisfied, depressed, confused, and they don't know why. And then those feelings of confusion and dissatisfaction, they project that onto the husband, and they say, oh, the husband is abusing me. This is the paradox, actually. This is the paradox of the more and more women are given their rights, you know, their rights, quote unquote, according to feminism, the more and more a man caters to his wife, caters to, you know, everything that she wants, makes her the boss. You're the boss, honey. You know, whatever you want, just tell me. I'm not going to say anything. The more that he does that, the more she despises him. The more she actually hates it. That's how she feels. Consciously, she doesn't know why. She just feels like, I hate this guy. She just feels it, and she doesn't know the reason. On paper, in her mind, oh, my husband is the perfect simp. My husband is the perfect feminist ally. He's a feminist ally. It's really helping me, and he's, you know, he treats me like a queen. So according to the feminist formula, he's great, but internally she hates him. Unconsciously or subconsciously, she despises him, but she doesn't know why. So then the brain makes up a reason. Oh, it's because he's abusing me. He's not emotionally satisfying me. So that's why the definition of abuse keeps getting larger and larger in scope under feminism, and it's becoming like more arcane. Like, what exactly is abuse? Like, it's just how you feel, but, you know, he's subconsciously abusing me. He's telepathically abusing me. So it's becoming more and more subtle because of this cognitive dissonance.
So the special status of the women, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, by and large, that's discussed in Surah Al-Ahzab. So what we've done is we've kind of conflated these things and made them into using that to generalize women are supposed to stay inside. But they didn't stay inside. There's enough evidence that women even joined the Sahaba in battle.
Oh my
There's enough
God.
evidence that they were interacting with the men. There's enough evidence they were traveling together. I mean, the Hajj ritual itself breaks. This is the most sacred ritual. Shouldn't there be a women's section for Tawaf? Why was there never one? Because they were a part of society. And
Strawman. No one said that. Qarna fi buyutikun. Stay in your homes mean women are not part of society. No one said that. It's a strawman. Like Hajj. So all of these scholars, 100% of them prior to modernity, who said said that this is the position in Islam, this is the ruling in Islam, this is the hukm in Islam regarding women. All of them were idiots. Like, they're so stupid. They didn't understand that, hello, there's Hajj. We have Hajj. Women go out for Hajj. Don't you know that? Don't you realize that? You idiot, mullah. How can you say that women should have permission to go outside their homes? Don't you realize that there's Hajj? Oh.
the thing is that Allah gave us this deen based on fitrah. There's some natural things we're supposed to be inclined towards, like decency, the way a person dresses. Allah gave khimar to the women not because it protects them from they're protected from the eyes of men, but actually they're protected from their own desire to show off. Actually, if you study Surah An-Nur, that's what it's talking about. So once they observe these principles of haya, of modesty, of engagement, like the sisters of, or the two sisters in Madian who were getting the water from the well, they're engaged in a hostile non-Muslim environment and they're working. Right? So women being in a public space, women fulfilling a certain role that normally is associated with men, the Quran never condemned it. The Quran never spoke against it. And how somehow we think this is a modern idea. It's not a modern idea. It's a classical idea, and if you actually study Islamic history, you'll see throughout our tradition that this was a non-issue. And even in contemporary...
What is he talking about? Wait, what do you mean that's a non-issue? It's a huge issue. That's why he's asking about it. Because even up to this day, Pakistan and many Muslim countries, they preserve this. Like, women should not be in the public sphere in that kind of way where they're just doing the kinds of jobs that men are doing. That's the norm. So how did that arise? He's saying that that just was a deviation that came out. But when you look at the seerah, you look at the salaf, you look at the sahabiyat, they aren't practicing what he's talking about. Just because there were some sahabiyat that were involved in battle, in war, what is the actual context of that? The actual context of that is that these were battles where the Muslims were about to be wiped out, existential threat to the existence of the ummah, the future of Islam. So even the traditional conservative Muslims, the Orthodox Muslims, they say that, yeah, if you're in a situation where the invading army of the enemy is about to destroy the city or is about to completely envelop the community, then it's all hands on deck. Men, women, children, everyone needs to be involved. Otherwise, we're going to be dead. In those cases, yeah, of course, women have to be involved. And in the seerah, those were the situations where women were involved in battle itself. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, no. Women are not permitted to go to battle. That's crazy. Women are not permitted in Islam to go fight in battle unless it is a life and death situation with an invading defensive force. The fact that they're talking about women going to battle, okay, as if this is a permission granted, it's like the only situation where that would be relevant is for offensive warfare. If Muslims are actually doing jihad at talab, like they're going and expanding and conquering, where do you see women involved in that? Bring me examples of women who were in the battles when the Muslims were going and expanding. You don't see any examples because it's not permissible. Like, this is not what women should be doing. It's a problem. It's a problem. Or there are you'll have examples of like Ola bint al-Azwar, this was in the time of when Umar radiallahu anhu was Khalifa, and she went to battle because her husband or her brother was kidnapped by the Nasara, by the Christian forces, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Aswad. And so they use this as an example as well. But she did that, and the scholars recognize that this is like an exceptional situation. Her family has been kidnapped. She wanted to personally be involved, and she didn't like go and say, I'm a woman and I'm going to fight. She had to actually mask herself and dress like a man in order to do that. So that's something that is not like a normal situation. If it had been permissible, this is actually proof against the feminists, because if it had been permissible for a woman to just go and join the battle, then why did she wear a mask and cover herself and make herself look like a man if it were permissible? The way that it's portrayed by feminists is actually wrong. It's like the proof against them. Yeah, and the way that that's understood is that this is something that is incorrect, but she was under emotional distress. She was under such emotional distress that she did this action, but it's not permissible. But she can be excused from that, but that doesn't mean this is a model that, it's permissible for women to go and join battle. So all these examples from Nouman, feminists bring them up, reformists bring them up constantly, and they've been refuted like a million times.
Contemporary life, I like examples like Malaysia and Indonesia. I like these examples because these are very vibrant, very committed, very educated Muslim societies where women play a great role in the society while holding on to their Islam and their Islamic principles. It's a beautiful thing to see, and there's no reason for someone to think that's not supposed to be the case, or you're not supposed to be but women are meant to be doctors and teachers and nothing else. No, you can be a civil servant. Why not? What's wrong with you being a civil? What's wrong with you being a lawyer? What's wrong with you being a professor? What's wrong with you being a research scientist?
Oh, first of all, is civil servant like some really high, great position in Pakistan? Because in the U.S., like, you can be a civil servant means like you work at the post office, like there are all kinds of civil servant jobs. They're not like, wow, you're a civil servant. Oh my God, you're civil servant. So impressive. You can deliver mail and that's a civil servant. Like you're working for the government. So is he conflating civil servant with leadership? I don't know. But then he's saying like, yeah, you don't have to just be a doctor or a civil servant. You can also be a lawyer. You can also be a professor. You can be this, you can be that. Okay, well, why can't she be a plumber? Why can't she be an electrician? Why can't she be a construction worker? Why can't she go and, do oil drilling or mining? Why, if there's equality, between the sexes, let's get these women tilling the fields, plowing the fields. Aren't women equal to men? They should be doing those kinds of jobs too. Why are the men only doing those kinds of jobs? The hard labor. The dangerous jobs where men's life expectancy is like a few years less than a woman's life expectancy because he's doing all this kind of hard labor. Why aren't we pushing women into those fields, into those jobs, if there's so much equality? No, it's only the desk job. It's only the lawyer sitting in a nice, comfortable office, or the professor, or all these high status jobs. So that seems to be a contradiction with the feminist message as well.
There's nothing preventing you from any of it. And this is the same advice I would give my own daughters. Pursue whatever it is that Allah has given you. And if we don't do this, we're taking more than 50% of our talent pool, and we're basically telling them, all your education, all your mind, all your potential is useless. There's nothing you can do with it.
Wow, that's,
and then the next art
basically saying that, if you want to be a wife, a good wife, and a mother, and raise the next generation, you're wasting your potential. You're throwing it away. All that intelligence that you have, you're going to waste it by being a mother? You're going to waste that by being a good wife? So this is pure modernist, feminist garbage. Like, just poisoning minds. This is exactly what you hear. The most rabid, frothing at the mouth, feminist on social media. This is the kind of garbage she's typing. Oh, you just want to be a mother? Like, this is constantly what Khalid is getting online on her posts, like promoting motherhood, promoting wife Islamic, being a wife according to Islam, properly, correctly. Constantly, these feminists are whining like, "Oh, you're wasting your potential. Oh, this is such a waste. This is such a waste of your talent and your education and blah blah blah." This is like such a colonized mindset. The reason that every generation in the West is getting worse and worse and worse is because the talent, the intelligence of women is not going to educate or raise the next generation. Instead, it's going to these major corporations making a profit, increasing their profit, increasing their quarterly earnings. That's where the talent has been sucked out from the home. The talent has been sucked out. The intelligence has been sucked out of the home. And it's being used by corporations to enrich themselves, because women are going to college, they're getting degrees, and they're going straight into the workforce. Partly because they have to pay back all the loans, the thousands of dollars, the hundreds of thousands of dollars they have spent to get that education is through ribawi loans, is through interest-bearing loans. So they have to go work to pay that back. They have no choice, in this free society. Who's benefiting from that? All of these corporations, they're getting the talent. They're getting all that potential that could have been used to raise a strong generation of believers, of Muslim believers who are going to worship Allah, who are going to stand strong to defend Deen and to establish the word of Allah. These generations in the US, even basic morality, like kids these days, they don't have an understanding of basic morality. Like, where do they learn morality from? From their parents? No, from their smartphone that they get at a young age, going through whatever YouTube on their smartphones. That's the tarbiyah. That's the education that the children are getting. Their parents aren't home. Their mom is working. Their dad is working. And then they go to school. That teacher, like some of these teachers are really khabith. They're really disgusting, filthy people that are teaching your children in these public schools or even Islamic schools. In Islamic schools also, like, unfortunately, they're very low standards for who they hire in many of these schools. So those are the people bringing up the next generation, while all the talent and education is making, an extra million for, I don't know, Microsoft, or for whatever company that you're working for as a smart and educated woman. Wow, Microsoft really, the investors really thank you. These Fortune 500 companies, they really appreciate all you're doing. All that talent is really making their pockets nice and full. This is what they want for Pakistan. This is what they want for Malaysia.
Argument people give as well, if they do these things, how will they be good mothers? The same way you're doing all these things and you're still supposed to be a good father. That's a non-argument. There are plenty of people that women used to work in the farms and get water from wells and all this other stuff while they were still mothers.
Okay, great. Go. Women today, 9 to 5. Go. Actually, farming is more than 9 to 5. Okay, go in the fields, start tilling the fields right before Fajr. Pray Fajr, then continue tilling the fields until Maghrib. Yeah, empower yourself. Go work in the fields as a farmer. And this is a revisionist history from Nouman Khan.
Trade, husband died, they have to do trade, they have to make a living. You think every situation is normal?
Your husband dies, so then you have to go and do trade. You have to travel to Syria. You have to go as a woman. You have to go and join the other traders, the other men, and go down the Silk Road so you can trade to China and India, because your husband died, so you have no choice. This is nonsense. What are you talking about? If your husband dies, guess what? You marry someone else. You marry someone else. You can even be a second wife. There's no problem with that. You're not going to go and start trading. You become a trader. What are you talking about?
Every situation is standard. There are plenty of single women, divorced women that had to take care of their children and had to make ends meet and worked hard and raise their kids. So this idea that somehow they are left.
There wasn't. There was no infrastructure for that. The reason that that's possible today to have a single mom raising kids is because of welfare. She's getting a check. She's getting a welfare check. She can put her kids in public school. This is actually what Khalid talked about yesterday in wife's school. There's a whole infrastructure that will allow women to be single and raise kids. They're not raising kids. They're not raising the kid. It's the state that's raising the kid. She's working for a company, she's working for, let's say, McDonald's. She's on McDonald's workforce, making money for McDonald's, making money for those investors. Her kids are in school. She's not raising them. She's not raising them. And I'm not like attacking single moms here, because unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, the world that liberalism has created for us, but it's a dystopia. We have to recognize that it's a dystopia. I'm not attacking like these single moms. They have no choice in many cases. In many cases, not all cases. But this situation cannot exist without that infrastructure, without that welfare system, without that public school system. Guess who pays for that? Men. Men are paying for that with their taxes, because taxes, men pay a disproportionate amount of taxes, or they contribute a disproportionate amount to the taxes that are collected by government. This is because men work more, they work longer, they work higher, higher paying jobs, etc. So they pay more to the tax system, and women take more from taxes. Women take more from these social welfare programs than men. Men are expected to work. So that's why you can have these single moms. This did not exist prior to the modern welfare state. Because if you don't have, how can you work and raise kids if there's no public school system? There's no and the kind of jobs, there are no desk jobs. You have to go, like I said, be a trader, or you have to go till the fields. How can a woman do that? And also take care of her children? It's impossible. So this has never existed.
Lesser mothers, or they're too busy with their career, therefore they can't be mothers. I think that idea is silly. And the people who make that idea don't even know what it means to be a father, really. Because they don't understand what kind of partnership it takes to raise a child. They just think, oh, that's a mother's responsibility. No, the personality of a child is as dependent on the mother as it is on the nourishment of a father. You need both. So,
yeah, you need both, but to what degree? Like, what degree? How much is the father necessary versus the mother's influence on children? Both are necessary, but does it have to be equal? Or is equal participation or equal involvement necessary? That's impossible. Especially there are many men today and in the past, they have to work 16 hours a day, like literally 2 jobs they have to work in order to keep their family housed, keep their family fed, clothed. They have to work 16 hours minimum per day in order to provide for their families. And that's the situation for many. I don't want to say like a majority, but a sizable percentage of the population. That's like what the men have to do. Not even factoring in that women also, their wives might also have to work, and then they have to rely on a public school system or a daycare system in order to take care of their children. But the whole system is designed to get people into the workforce. Why? Because that benefits these corporations, it benefits the wealthy, it benefits the upper classes to have as many people in the workforce as possible. So it's a waste for that corporation for you to be at home with your children. But men have no choice. This is like he's making it sound like, oh, men have the luxury to be outside the home, slaving away, tilling the fields, trading. This is like a luxury. Like men have it so good, and women, these guys are having a vacation while instead of raising their kids, these deadbeat dads, making money so they can have a roof over their children's head and food in their mouths. These deadbeats working as if like, you think a father doesn't want to be at home with his kids, like having fun, enjoying his children? That's what the men want, but they don't have a choice.
A lot of times the arguments that are presented to make such a case are very problematic. This young lady even says, I'm made to feel small, right? And that's exactly the feeling. Why am I being made to feel that? Because of my gender, I can't contribute. I have nothing to offer.
You're being made to feel small by Nouman Ali Khan. You're being made to feel small by feminists. They're the ones who are saying, oh, you're wasting your potential if you don't be a civil servant delivering mail or pushing paper behind a desk. You're nothing unless you do that. You're nothing unless you can go and stand in front of men and teach them or lecture at them and be a professor or be a sheikha. You're wasting your potential. That's what's making you feel small.
Or the role in which I can offer something is very limited. No. So long as you're following the principles of this deen, then the area in which you can serve, the scope in which you can serve, is completely an open playing field. It's completely open to you, and I would encourage you to pursue it. And I would encourage you to even study your deen deeper and look at the arguments and look at the counter arguments, and don't just listen to what I'm saying. Look at the evidences yourself, study the history yourself, and you'll be amazed and empowered at how many women, on the backs of how many women, just like men, this deen has been carried. It didn't reach us just because of the contributions of men. It reached us because of the contributions of men and women. So
I agree.
I have a few thoughts on this issue.
I agree. It reached us through the contributions of women to a very great extent, as much as men. Why? Because these women have been raising great generation after generation. That's the contribution of women. They've raised the greatest Muslims. They have raised Salah ad-Din. They have raised all of the great figures of Islam were raised by great women, great Muslim moms, and many of them had great Muslim wives who supported them in their efforts, in their juhud. That is a huge contribution that no one denies, and no one should deny, and no one should belittle. They weren't contributing by, sitting behind a desk and pushing paper or like going and doing what men were doing. That is not how they contributed.